In the dark corners of human history, there exist tales so chilling they send shivers down our spines. Tales of tribes who indulged in an unthinkable act, cannibalism. These stories, veiled in the mists of time, speak of a reality far removed from our own, a time when mankind's survival instincts took a dark and disturbing turn. This is not the stuff of horror films, but a haunting echo from our prehistoric past. Are you ready to journey into the past to explore the hidden, unsettling chapters of human history? Our journey commences in the prehistoric times, where the first traces of cannibalism are seen among the Neanderthals. We find ourselves at the beginning of history, amidst the tales of survival, struggle, and surprisingly, cannibalism told by archaeological remnants of these times. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but the ancient bones attest to this reality. The Neanderthal sites dispersed throughout Europe and Asia expose bones with undeniable signs of cannibalism, indications of marrow extraction marked by cutting and breaking. These signs suggest a period when our predecessors may have taken to consuming their own kind, a possible survival strategy in the face of harsh circumstances. As we progress, we come across the early Homo sapiens, our direct forebears. Even here, the shadow of cannibalism haunts. Bones unearthed from prehistoric human locations like Gough's Cave in England show identical signs of cutting and breaking, implying that cannibalism was not limited to Neanderthals but was also practiced by early Homo sapiens. But what drove our ancestors to resort to these extreme actions? The explanations, understandably, are conjectural. Some theories suggest that cannibalism was fueled by dietary requirements or complex rituals to honor the departed or gain their strength. Others indicate it was a strategy in warfare to strike fear in the hearts of adversaries. The evidence, however, give a definitive answer. It's a riddle assembled from the remnants of the past, a human behavior mosaic colored with survival, ritual, and aggression. What it does reveal, though, is that cannibalism was not a product of sheer cruelty or insanity, but stemmed from circumstances and beliefs that held true for our ancestors. As humankind evolved, so did instances of cannibalism shaping into the practices of particular tribes. The prehistoric times marked the beginning of a dark chapter in human history, a chapter that continued to unfurl as we stepped further into our times. But that, dear listeners, is a story for another occasion. Fast forward to the tribal era, where cannibalism took a different form and purpose. Let's cast our minds to the lush, remote highlands of Papua New Guinea, home to the Fore tribe. The Fore people practiced endocannibalism, the consumption of flesh from members of the same tribe, particularly after death. This was not a practice born out of hunger, but rather a deeply embedded tradition, a way to honor the deceased and absorb their virtues. Venture now across the Pacific to New Zealand, where the mighty Maori tribes once roamed. Here, cannibalism was a part of warfare, a way to humiliate their enemies and display their dominance. The Maori believed that by consuming their adversaries, they not only physically but spiritually annihilated them, absorbing their mana or spiritual energy. However, these practices were not without their consequences. For the Fore tribe, their ritualistic cannibalism led to the spread of kuru, a deadly neurodegenerative disorder transmitted through the consumption of human brain tissue. The disease wreaked havoc, decimating the population before its cause was discovered. In the case of the Maori, their cannibalistic practices fed a cycle of violence as tribes sought revenge for their consumed kin. This cycle continued until external forces stepped in and the tradition gradually faded. It's crucial to understand that these practices were not mindless savagery as they can often be painted. They were born out of complex socio-cultural systems, religious beliefs, and notions of honor and power. It's a stark reminder of how diverse human cultural practices can be and how our understanding of normal is truly subjective. These tribes, isolated in time and geography, carried on their practices till the modern world intervened. In the face of modernity, the ancient customs of these tribes were challenged. As the world grew smaller, the vast oceans and dense forests that once protected these tribes from outside influences began to shrink. The advent of the 20th century brought with it a wave of missionaries, explorers, and anthropologists, their hearts set on converting, discovering, and understanding. Christianity, with its tenets of love and peace, was introduced to these tribes. The missionaries often unaware or dismissive of the cultural significance of cannibalism to these tribes, painted it as a sinful act. They aimed to replace it with their version of morality and spirituality, leading to a significant shift in the tribe's beliefs and practices. Simultaneously, the modern world began to impose its laws and regulations. Cannibalism, seen as a heinous act in most cultures, was outlawed. Governments, both local and international, started taking measures to protect the rights of individuals against such practices. Consequently, the tribes found themselves in a tight spot, their way of life threatened by a world they barely understood. Yet it was not merely the external forces that led to the decline of these practices. Even within the tribes, a new generation was rising, one that had been exposed to the outside world. They questioned the age-old customs, the need for human flesh, the very essence of their identity. The internal strife, coupled with the external pressures, resulted in a gradual, albeit reluctant, shift away from cannibalism. However, despite the efforts to eradicate it, cannibalism didn't disappear overnight. Over the years, there have been sporadic reports of such practices, often in the most isolated regions. Each report sends a shockwave through the global community, a chilling reminder of a not-so-distant past. Though largely eradicated, some isolated reports of cannibalism still emerge, shocking the world. While the modern world has gone to great lengths to suppress these practices, the echoes of this ancient custom still reverberate in the hidden corners of our planet. In the 21st century, we'd like to believe that cannibalism belongs to the forgotten past. Yet that's far from the truth. Let's travel to the far reaches of India, to the city of Varanasi, where the Aghoris dwell. These religious ascetics are known to engage in post-mortem rituals that include consuming human flesh as a part of their beliefs. Yet it's important to remember that the Aghoris are a minuscule sect, not representative of a wider culture or the nation as a whole. But cannibalism isn't confined to remote corners of the world or obscure religious practices. There have been instances shockingly close to home where this taboo has surfaced in our modern society. Criminal cases have emerged across the globe, from Germany to Japan, where individuals have committed acts of cannibalism. These instances, while horrifying, are not indicative of a societal norm, but rather represent the darker depths of individual human behavior. Take the case of Armin Meiwes from Germany. In the early 2000s, Meiwes was convicted for killing and eating a willing victim he had met online. This case sent shockwaves around the world, and it's a stark reminder that the internet can be a dark place, enabling even the most unthinkable acts. Then there's the case of Issei Sagawa from Japan, who in the 1980s killed and ate a classmate while studying in France. Sagawa's case is particularly unsettling as he managed to avoid jail time and even gained a certain level of notoriety in Japan. These cases are deeply unsettling, but they are outliers, rare instances of a practice that is universally condemned. In our modern world, cannibalism is not a common or accepted practice. It's seen as a crime against humanity, a violation of our most basic social contracts. Yet these instances serve as a stark reminder that even in our advanced society, the primitive and the macabre can still find a way to surface. In the grand scheme of human history, the practice of cannibalism stands as a chilling testament to the extremes of human behavior. As we come to the end of this shocking journey, it's crucial to remember the context of history. We've traversed the chilling landscapes of prehistoric cannibalism, where survival was the driving force behind such gruesome practices. We've explored the tribal era, where cannibalism took on more complex cultural and ritualistic connotations, becoming a part of the societal fabric in certain parts of the world. We've also delved into the modern confrontations with cannibalistic practices, as explorers and colonizers encountered these traditions, often reacting with revulsion and fear. It's important to bear in mind the historical, cultural, and geographical factors that shaped these practices. In the harsh climates of prehistory, cannibalism was often a desperate measure for survival. In tribal societies, it was entwined with spiritual beliefs and societal norms. And in the face of modern confrontations, it was often a clash of vastly different cultures and worldviews. In the unsettling present, the remnants of these practices continue to haunt us, serving as stark reminders of the darkest corners of our past. Yet they also offer a window into the vast array of human experiences, the myriad ways in which societies have evolved, and the depths to which humanity can sink in the name of survival, ritual, and tradition. In understanding these chilling parts of our history, we come to appreciate the diverse and complex journey of humankind. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update.